because it's strong. I got my Bacardi. I know that a lot of people frown on Bacardi, but I get good results with this rum. So I handle in the cabinet at all times. And I think every household needs a good handle of Appleton. It doesn't go bad. So, and I have some Don Q, Añejo. I have Scarlet Ibis, and I have the El Dorado 5 years, which is actually a funny story with this one. I had a barrel that had the barrel-aged cocktail. It was there for a long time. I needed to pull it out so it doesn't get like too oaky and whatnot. And I needed something to put in that barrel. So I took that bottle of El Dorado and I put it in that barrel and forgot about it. So when I finally realized what's waiting for me in that barrel, it was the bottle was full, and what I got from the barrel was about this much. So kind of like the angels drank a lot. Me, but I'm
be Catholic.
Fun I'll use for our aged daiquiri. We'll see.
Awesome. Well, I think we've got kind of a critical mass here. I'm sure more people will join in. But I guess I'll say a couple of things for folks who are new to this, and then we'll just kick it over to Amit. Does that sound pretty good, Amit?
Sounds great.
All right. So hey, welcome to our 10th cocktail session. We've been doing this 10 times. That's a lot of drinks, man. Wow. So it's been a real pleasure seeing everyone's, so many times. And it looks like we've got some new folks here, which is really quite exciting. So really for this cocktail session, every time what we do is we pick a theme and we make drinks based on a theme. We make them together, and then we drink them together, and then we talk about the drinks, or just drinking, or and every time, the first couple I hosted myself, but after this, or after the first two, I really wanted to feature all our friends in F&B, because I know, this is in this COVID time, a lot of our F&B folks just sit at home chilling. So every time it's a huge pleasure to kind of learn from folks, especially Amit tonight. So I'll say a little bit about Amit, and then I'll let Amit kind of introduce himself, and then we'll just jump straight into it, so we don't talk too long without a drink in our hands. I've known Amit for a long time. So I was a regular at his bar, Green River, or also the Attics, pouring out Dearly Beloved, which was one of my favorite bars in the city, and I think I spent every Friday there for a long time. Amit and I became pretty good friends. We had some dinners together, we threw some parties together, and one thing I appreciate about Amit a lot is not just his kind of cocktail knowledge, but also just his heart for hospitality. I think everyone who sat at his bar has always felt very, very welcome, whether they're new or whether they're old. I know every time I go to Amit's bar, I make new friends. Yeah, and also Amit he's a Jean Award winner, so he's like the man.
Woo!
Yeah, he puts it right next to you.
You're very kind, Doug. Thank you very much.
Yep. So I want to take it away.
All right. So as Doug said, my name is, and I've been a bartender pretty much all of my professional life. I started bartending, or let's say a barista at a cafe that had some alcohol in it, I would say 25 years ago, and I haven't stopped since. I have a real passion for bartending, for cocktails, and most of all, I have to say, for hospitality. I love people. I love the good conversation. I love making people happy, and I really appreciate when people make the effort to come to the bar and kind of trust the bartender and kind of let me do my thing, and I really appreciate that. So I really focus on my guests and kind of giving them the best evening I can. And I try obviously to serve drinks. I do it through the drinks and conversation, but try to serve drinks that people would enjoy, but also be a little bit, maybe a little bit challenged, but not too much. I still, I like it when people are like, delicious. I want to go in for another sip rather than, that's delicious. I need to think about that. That's not really my goal. I like it when people kind of like become friends with their drinks and their experience. And once that part is kind of like out of the way, then we can talk, we can chat, we can have a good time. And I think that is what it's all about. And that is mostly what I miss. I miss the good times. I miss the good conversations and the great people that used to come visit us at the bar. So yeah, I moved here from Israel 5 years ago. I worked at, as Doug said, I worked at Green River some time ago. Green River, it's hard to fathom, but it's been closed for some time now. So I started working there, made my way from the prep guy to head bartender. And, as Doug mentioned, I won the Jean Banchet Award for Mixologist of the Year 2018. It was a great honor, amazing. And when Green River closed, that was a sad time. And when Green River closed, I transitioned to the Conrad Hotel, and I've been working at Baptise bottle since then, and until actually this pandemic hit us. And I think one of my biggest passions, after we talked about hospitality, and I love creating cocktail menus. And I think a good cocktail menu is kind of like a story. You start somewhere and you make your way to a certain point, and then you end with something great. And I think not only great drinks or tasty drinks, but kind of like maybe a story or a certain progression, something that will kind of like, be more than, oh, I took a sip and then it tastes nice. All right, that's great. Something to relate to. All right, so that's something that I'm really into. And we gathered here today to talk about my absolute favorite drink in the world. And I'm not exaggerating. I think the Daiquiri is my absolute favorite drink. I will always order 8 evening with
this music. This is some fun that me and my friend are having. So I guess we got to make sure we state that. That's crazy. They got me, man.
What are we hearing there? So as I was saying, when I go out, there will be a Daiquiri somewhere there in the beginning, in the middle. I don't know. Good Daiquiri will be there. And not to say, I will judge a cocktail bar or a restaurant on their daiquiris. Like if I have a daiquiri, the daiquiri is not good, it's probably a cider and fernet or a beer and a whiskey kind of night. So I love my daiquiri. It's a 3-ingredient drink. It's not a very hard drink to make, but I do think there are a few things that one should make a point out of. I think a daiquiri is kind of like, for me at least, it's kind of like a celebration. When I am in a good mood, I shake a daiquiri. If I shake a daiquiri, I'll put it in a nice glass. That glass will probably have been in the freezer. So it's kind of like trying to make the best out of everything. Great rum, always fresh lime, the syrup or the sugar, not much to say about that, but will be accurate. If I make a simple syrup, if I make a rich syrup, they're kind of like, they'll be measured, they'll be weighed. I use this guy. But obviously at home, we don't make large quantities of anything. So I'll probably, if I'm in a daiquiri kind of mood, I'll just make a little bit of simple syrup or a little bit of cane syrup on the side. And no, I don't like keeping like large quantities of that stuff. So, without further ado, I kind of like to dive in. And I think I kind of like decided with myself to make this session not necessarily about, a lot of history and, where the daiquiri, obviously we'll talk about that. But I don't want to make that the main issue. What I would like to focus on is just a couple of styles of daiquiris that anyone can make. And I think they're delicious, but more than a recipe, it will kind of like give you a template to work with. And the daiquiri, one of the nicest things about a daiquiri is that there's a lot of room for play. This rum or that rum, an aged rum, a barrel aged rum, regular syrup, sugar, granulated, made into a simple syrup or a rich syrup, demerara sugar, decaying, it could be palm sugar. So there are a lot of different things that you can put in your daiquiri, and I think it's kind of like a fun journey to kind of like figure out what is your favorite. Make a whole bunch of daiquiris and then say, my favorite daiquiri is with white, crisp, beautiful rum from I don't know where, with yay much lime and with granulated sugar rather than syrup. That's great. So what I want to talk about are 3 styles to make a daiquiri. All right. The first will be the classic, the simple daiquiri that kind of like we know. It's a simple drink. It's made with 2 ounces of rum of your choice. It's made with between 3/4 ounce and an ounce of fresh lime juice. Today I actually did something pretty interesting. I had some key limes here because I'm been wanting to make that key lime pie for a couple of days, but I have some key limes here. So I juiced some regular limes and then I juiced a couple of key limes in that juice. Just, why not? Just to add a little bit of flavor there. I wouldn't make my daiquiri with 100% key lime, because I think key limes have a certain flavor profile that some people really love.
But I can't find them on here.
Not so much, but I do feel like putting a little bit of key lime juice in my lime, fresh lime, is just nice. All right. So it's made with 2 ounces of rum, 0.75 to an ounce of lime, and sugar. All right. And the sugar could be just plain granulated sugar.
Someone just talked.
It could be a simple syrup, and it could be a rich syrup. And I'll just really briefly talk about the differences and why we do this rather than that. And then we can dive right in. So when we make a cocktail, one of the ingredients that we don't really think about is water. All right. So specifically here, I said earlier that daiquiri consists of 3 ingredients, but that's kind of wrong. It's actually 4: rum and lime, sugar, and the water. All right. The water that I'll get from shaking my drink, diluting it, whether I use the syrup or use granulated sugar, these all make a difference. And just think about it like that. If I made my daiquiri with granulated sugar, so all I have in my shaker right now is rum, lime, and a little bit of granulated sugar. If I made my cocktail with simple syrup, then that whole amount of sugar is actually, I just added like water in the mix. So that dilutes the drink, but also adds a little bit of texture, maybe kind of like stretches the drink a little bit. So I want to really make a daiquiri with granulated sugar. I want to make a daiquiri with simple syrup. And I want to make an aged rum daiquiri with cane sugar. All right. I think the granulated sugar daiquiri is a very special daiquiri, and I love it. It's stronger than the typical daiquiri, just because that little bit of water that would have gotten in the shaker with the simple syrup, you don't have that. So the result will be like a daiquiri that is more, I think flavors are more accentuated. It's a little stronger, it's a little more tart, and definitely will make the rum more noticeable. And I think I'll start with that one, just so we can, try something, and then we'll have something to compare it to. As I said, I'm not going to use the Wray and Nephew. I love that rum, but it's strong. and I have a I have a long evening ahead with dinners and showers to the little ones, so I don't want to get too messed up. So I'm going to use my Bacardi, and without further ado, I'll just make the cocktail. One thing to remember when you use granulated sugar to make your daiquiri, you have to dissolve the sugar. It happened more than once that, went to a bar and the specific bar uses granulated sugar rather than syrup, which is great. And then you order 2 or 3 or 4 daiquiris maybe. They're all made in the same shaker. The first couple daiquiris are great. The last couple are not so great because the bartender has not dissolved all of the sugar in the shaker. So you have a little bit of sugar coming out of the shaker, with the first couple of cocktails, and then the sediment is the sugar that you would have had in the other 2. So I would strongly recommend you take a second, stir that sugar. We're going to start with the sugar into that shaker, and then the amount of sugar is really, it's up to you. If you like your drinks on the sweeter side, go with 3 teaspoons, 3.5 if you need to. If you like it kind of like on the more tart side, use 2, use 1, whatever you feel like. Again, it's a trial. I wouldn't say error because it's just a lot of fun. But try it again until you reach the formula that works for you. I kind of have to admit I like my drinks on the sweeter side. I'm going to use 3 teaspoons of sugar. Even though this drink is going to be maybe a little stronger and a little more tart than the one that we'll make after this one, and that is because simple syrup has a little bit of water. You use granulated sugar, don't put that water in the shaker. So, all right, we have 3 teaspoons. I'll use my jigger. I love measuring. I think overall it gives a good end result. And definitely doesn't mean that you can't make drinks without measuring your stuff. But if you're looking for consistency and to find a recipe and be able to duplicate it time and time again, I recommend measuring. I like measuring. As a long-time bartender, I started bartending when jiggers were really not in fashion.
So now I have
frowned upon if you use the jigger. So freestyle pouring. I'm not saying you can't make cocktails that way, but again, if you're working at a bar, you're looking for consistency, if you're looking for, someone had your daiquiri and wants to come back tomorrow and have the exact same thing, you got to measure, all right? So as I said, the amounts for wine are between 0.75 and an ounce of lime juice. I love lime juice, so I'm going to use an ounce of that straight into the shaker. And then I'm going to use 2 ounces of my white rum. Each rum has different characteristics, different nuances, and just explore away. That's a lot of fun. All right. There you go. And I'm just going to stir this with my spoon until I see no more sugar in the pan.
Where'd you go?
Might take up to 30 seconds, but well worth it. Bear in mind that the second we add ice to the shaker, that little bit of sugar that needs to dissolve, it will have a hard time dissolving. So do this before you add your ice. All right? Kind of like this is room temperature, the sugar will have an easier time to dissolve. All right. It smells amazing. I think lime is amazing. And the daiquiri is a beautiful expression. It sounds funny to talk about like the citrus, like the sour agent, but I love lime, and I think a daiquiri is a beautiful way to enjoy both rum and lime. So a little bit more. Taste it. Ooh, that's amazing. I'm gonna get my ice. And as I said, for me, a daiquiri is kind of like a celebration. So if I'm making one, there's a glass in the freezer for sure. So I do have a glass in the freezer. I'll bring it in a second. I'll be adding my ice. If you're wondering about how much ice to add, I would say fill the shaker halfway. That's a good place to start. I mean, too much ice. Think about it. Too much ice, and after a couple of seconds, you're barely diluting the drink anymore. You're just chilling it. Too little ice, and you're diluting the drink and adding all that water in. Again, whatever works for you, but this is something to bear in mind. So, got 5 cubes. Any shaker will do. I really don't think that we need any fancy equipment or spoons or jiggers or whatnot. You could, as far as I'm concerned, you can make the best daiquiri using a mason. Here we go. Let's shake. How long to shake? I would say 15 seconds is good to shake. All right, here we go. What I love about daiquiri, about shaking daiquiri, watch someone take a daiquiri, and you see the froth take it, and that tells you you're gonna have a good time. So my shaker is completely frozen. That's a good time to pour my daiquiri in my chilled glass, chilled coupe. But again, there are no rules. You want to drink this daiquiri in a rocks glass with cracked ice. You want to put this whole thing in the blender. That's all good. It'll be delicious. Regarding garnish, some will garnish their daiquiris with a lime wheel. I just think that it gets in the way. So my daiquiri is going to be consumed naked. And cheers to you, everyone. Salud. Hope you have a great weekend.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud.
All right, salud. L'chaim. That's for you, Kyle. L'chaim. Muhammad.
Cheers, guys. All
right, that is delicious.
Doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Delicious. Thank you.
Hey, perfect.
What would I say?
That is delicious.
That was
I promise you, if you hadn't taken the time to dissolve that sugar, this would not be balanced. It would be tart. Not all of the sugar would have dissolved. So take an extra second. Make sure that all that sugar is dissolved. You'll be good to go. All right. Now that everyone has a drink, let's kind of move to our next daiquiri. And the next daiquiri is, what you'd consider like the plain classic daiquiri, made with 2 ounces of rum, 0.75 to 1 ounce of lime juice, and a half ounce of simple syrup. For me, that is the ultimate recipe. I feel like that little bit of water that you put in the shaker with the simple syrup really helps. I've also at certain occasions I got a daiquiri at a bar, and I found that adding a tiny bit of water really helps. Like really, smooths the edges in a way. So won't be afraid of that. It's all good. A daiquiri is a short, kind of like a short drink. And someone once said that you should drink the cocktail while it's still smiling at you or laughing at you, which is great. So daiquiri, I think
a little light on wine.
it was said about the daiquiri. You want to drink that daiquiri, not obviously if you want to gulp it. Don't take your time with it. When it gets too warm, you're kind of like drinking like a warm rum limeade. It's whatever. But I like this. This will probably be gone in like 5 to 7 minutes. So cheers again.
Yeah. Besides, if we're making 3 of them tonight, we'll definitely drink yours before we make the next one, right?
All right. I got all my shakers. For this one, I used a 3-piece shaker. The shaker really makes zero difference. As long as you have good ice. One thing to bear in mind, if you shook the drink, strained it into that glass, dump that ice. That ice that you have in the shaker is what we call the tired ice. It's used. It will literally turn to water in a second in your drink. So if you're pouring your drink on ice, always use fresh ice in your glass. You want that ice to be ice cold. So your drink kind of like remains cold, but not get over diluted. Right? So 3-piece Boston shaker, really same thing. And here I'm going to start with my simple syrup. I always start that. That's something that technique that stayed with me from working behind the bar. Always start with the smallest non-alcoholic ingredient and make my way up. So non-alcoholic, smallest to largest ingredient, and then starting with the alcohol. The reason is if you made a mistake, you don't want to start like with your rum and then realize that you made a mistake, maybe too much sugar, maybe too little lime, or a couple of too many dashes of bitters. You don't want to realize that once you already have the expensive stuff in the shaker. So you always start with the dashes if you have them, then syrups, then juices, and then in the end, the alcohol. So I'm going to start with my simple syrup. And again, this is something that just figure out what works for you. Some people would love this drink with 1/4 ounce of sugar. Some people would love it with 0.75. So I really think that the recipe calls for 1/2 ounce, 15 mils, but it's not written in stone. If you like it a little sweeter, a little less sweet, feel free to play with those measurements. All right, simple syrup and lime juice in, and white rum.
I mean, are we doing an ounce of lime juice and then also 2 ounces of rum here?
I'm going with an ounce. You feel free to do anywhere between 0.75 and an ounce of the citrus. And then again, sugar, if you feel like you need a little bit more, go for it. If you need a little bit less, just put a little bit less sugar. But that's pretty much it. So I have my daiquiri here. I have another glass in the freezer. That's good. And everyone ready? Perfect. And here we go.
Doug, is this your daily workout?
vigorous shake. You want to hear the ice kind of like crack in the shaker. And if you do this enough times, you'll be able to literally hear when your daiquiri is ready. So another good way to kind of like know if you shook the drink enough is when you pour it, you're pouring something that is like white. All right, it's completely opaque. You can't see through, and it might get kind of like a little less cloudy in a minute or two, but that's pretty much it. You shake it until it freezes in the shaker, you put it in your glass, and you're good to go. All right, so here's our classic traditional daiquiri made with white rum and simple syrup. And cheers to you.
Cheers.
We can talk about what you like better. Do you like using granulated sugar or simple syrup? What do you think?
You know, I mean, I always thought I was going to be a simple syrup guy and not like a granulated sugar guy, but you know, I kind of felt the granulated sugar was pretty nice, like little richer mouthfeel, feels like to me.
You know what? I feel the same. I'm drinking this one, which is my absolute favorite. I love my daiquiris made with simple syrup, but the one that we made previously with granulated sugar, it's fantastic. So, you know, I have to feel definitely both of them. There's no question here.
What does everyone else think?
Hey guys, this is Seth here. I'm on two systems at the same time. So
Yes, I can hear too. Yeah.
let me fix this thing here. Okay. All right. My camera doesn't work. Okay. So it's interesting. I tried the first two recipes with CH rum. It's a white rum, and I'm not that familiar with this brand of rum, but it's very neutral, and the drinks tasted very different than I was used to. So this most recent one with the rich syrup that we're making now, I'm using Denizen 8-year, which is pretty typical. It tasted more familiar, so not sure if it's the rum or if I did something wrong, but it's just kind of interesting. I'd never had a daiquiri quite like that before.
Nice.
How about the rest of you guys? Are you guys able to taste the difference between like the simple syrup and the granulated sugar? I know it's rare that we get like a kind of a wonderful tasting of different daiquiri techniques, so I'm just kind of curious myself.
I only had hibiscus simple syrup from something I made the other day.
Whoa!
That's delicious. So, can't do a direct compare and contrast, but it's pretty good. I also don't have the proper glass or shaker because I'm trash. But
that is totally fine. As I said, a mason will do wonders. All right.
I like the diluted one with the simple syrup more. I think it tastes more like floral to me, maybe just with like less intense acidity, less alcohol. I pick up more the like subtler aspects of the lime flavor or something.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think this is a first for me that I actually prefer the granulated sugar one to a traditional one. That's a first. But yeah. So I would like to just start by talking about that kind of like that aged drum daiquiri and the concept of the sugar and the flavors that we're going to kind of like work on. So think about, without getting too technical, think about aged drum and all the flavors that you get with it. From anywhere. It could be like an agricole rum, could be a demerara rum, or these rums have a lot of flavors in them, and the flavors comes from the product itself, from the cane, and from the barrel. So each one of these rums has like this beautiful array of flavors, and you'll feel oak, obviously, you feel molasses, and I don't want to say the word inferior, but with simple rums, you'll also feel like a little bit of caramel that they use to kind of like give the rum that nice color that it has. But when I think about these flavors, kind of like rich, dark flavors, molasses, cane sugar, kind of like maybe caramel, a little bit burnt, a little bit oaky. For me, it calls immediately calls for dark sugar. I feel like granulated sugar adds 99% sweetness, and the 1% could be maybe flavor. But when you put the granulated sugar, when you put that white sugar in your drink, be it granulated or in a syrup, you're really only adding sweetness, and that's totally fine. I think darker sugars have different flavors. Demerara sugar tastes one way, and cane sugar tastes different, and the palm sugar tastes differently. So I feel like it's a nice thing to play with these different types of sugar and kind of like understand what kind of sugar works for you with what kind of rum. So the only thing that is constant is the lime. And everything else, those two ingredients, you can just play with them. And so for me, putting just like simple white sugar in an aged rum daiquiri kind of like, misses the point. I want to add another layer of flavor, and I will gain that using like a special type of sugar. So that's one thing, the flavor. And now we talked about, we have three different types of sugar here on the table, and granulated, simple syrup, and rich syrup. Simple syrup, as I bet most of you know, is made with equal parts of water and sugar. A rich syrup is made with half the amount of water. So if you have 1 part of sugar, when you make a simple syrup, you have 1 part of sugar, 1 part of water. For a rich syrup, you'll use 1 part of sugar with half the amount of water. And what that gives you is a very concentrated syrup. But if you think about it, you get all the sweetness that you want, but a lot less water. So if we have, like, let's break down an ounce of simple syrup, we pretty much, I would say approximately, we have like a ½ ounce of raw sugar and a ½ ounce of water. That makes sense, right? But when we use rich syrup, we have the same amount of sugar with half the water. So as I said earlier, if we made the granulated sugar daiquiri and it was a little bit more concentrated, so I would say that a daiquiri or any drink that calls for rich syrup will be as sweet, but somewhere in the middle, between granulated sugar and simple syrup. All right, so you get all that sweetness that you're looking for, but not all that water. Does that make sense? So two reasons why I would use a different type of sugar rather than granulated sugar for my aged rum daiquiri. So without further ado, you guys grab your shakers, grab your dark rums, and let's see what's everyone using. What are you using, Kyle? All right, I see a bottle of
All I have done right now.
I see an El Dorado. I see, what's that? Beautiful.
Curtis, what do you use?
It's a Bacardi 8 year.
Elizabeth, you've got the El Dorado 12. That's a good rum. That's a.
I'm excited to open this one. Look at these.
The reason I chose the Bacardi 8 is because it's unsweetened. So I can control the sweetness a little better. Whereas the Diplomatico, the El Dorado, and others, I find it a little hard.
Yeah, Demerara rums have a nice, like, brown taste, but they also like a lot of sweetness. Yeah, one of these days we'll do like a rum masterclass as well. That'd be super fun.
Nice, beautiful, amazing rums. I think to celebrate this occasion and to celebrate you guys, I am going to use my barrel age. So this rum, as I said earlier, this rum was aged in a barrel for 2.5 years on top of, so I'm going to use this. I had a swig of it like a couple of weeks ago, and it was amazing. Not only because it's an aged rum that sat in a barrel for 2 years, 2.5, but because that barrel had a different cocktail before I put this rum in, and it was just fantastic. So I wish we could have like a workshop on barrel aged cocktails sometime. But the cocktail that
You send out the ingredients like 2 years beforehand. So yeah, we'll send out the ingredients 2 years beforehand. And we'll like a Zoom meeting like in 2 years.
Yeah. Let's schedule a Zoom for a year from today.
Yeah. What are you guys doing in 2022? More Zoom.
Hopefully not still quarantining at home.
A year from today, we're all going to be reporting to President Musk.
Nice. All right, guys. Whenever you're ready,
Sure.
proceed.
Hey, who's got the cat? There's a cat in the Zoom.
Oh, yeah. I want more cat content.
You know, I don't know if it's just I don't know if it's just me, but like it doesn't show who's talking. Like it'd be nice to see who's talking, but anyway.
That's because I've got to meet him because he's the man for that.
My cat ran away, so sorry. They didn't run away, hiding in the house. Nowhere to be found.
Anime, walk us through it. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna use my dark rum, my aged rum. And, as I said, we're gonna start with the smallest ingredient. So that's gonna be my rich cane sugar syrup. Here we go, and I'm gonna use ½ ounce. And you'll see that sugar really behaves differently when you mix it with all these good things. So one would say that like a ½ ounce of rich cane syrup might be a little bit too much. Why don't you guys tell me what you think? I think, and I've had daiquiris that had 0.75 of that rich cane syrup, which is very sweet. It's the same amount of sugar, or the same amount of sugar that you would have like in a ounce and a half of simple syrup. That little bit of water that didn't go into the shaker with the syrup makes a lot of difference. So you guys tell me what you think. So I used a ½ ounce of my cane sugar syrup. I'm gonna use an ounce again. And again, if you have tasted the previous daiquiris and they were too tart, then maybe you used an ounce of the lime. Use less. Use like 0.75. Then maybe even less if you feel like it. But I'm going to use a whole ounce of the stuff because I love it. All right. Lime in. Oh. Amazing. It's almost like a syrup after being in the barrel for such a long time.
2.5 years, though. Really? 2.5 years? You forgot about it?
I did. Okay. I still have in one of those barrels. I put a bottle of like that cheap Costco vodka just so the barrel doesn't stay like dry, and I checked the barrel a couple of weeks ago. It was all gone. It was a 5-liter barrel that I put like a three or maybe like 2 handles. I put 2 handles of that Costco vodka in there, and in 2.5 years it had completely evaporated. So I have like a very, very nice vodka dust in that in that barrel. I think you got a barrel too, Kyle, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I'm going to put Ray and Nephew in that because, overproof rum is the way to go.
Nice. All right. So I'm using this. I'm using this tiny shaker. I actually haven't used it in a while. Not going to put too much ice in there because this shaker really freezes very, very quickly. I'm going to put like 3 ice cubes in here. Close it real good. And I'm going to take this one until it freezes completely. All right. All right.
Shake.
Are you there? Are you there?
Okay, Doug. Okay, Doug. Shake it up. Shake it up.
My hands hurt.
Come on, Taylor Swift. Shake it off.
Crank out the glasses. Here we go.
Wow. Wow.
Hello, Smokin'.
Wow.
All right.
Hello, kitty cat. Hi, kitty.
Oh, hey, I see.
So, how do we know we're not being Zoom bombed? How do we know one of us isn't like?
Oh, hello, kitty cat number 2.
I only know this because you are the Zoom bot.
I feel like I have to call mine.
That's right, Doug. It's me. I'm the Zoom bomber.
Yeah, I can see all 10 of your nose hairs.
No, he's hiding. He's embarrassed now. Right?
All I have to do is shake the treat jar, the treat box.
Don't do that. My cat might jump onto the iPad.
Yo, how's everyone's at? Oh, hey.
This is so delicious.
Oh,
Cheers.
This is like cats meet cats on our thing. Cheers, guys.
All right. Say hi.
More cats.
That's a fantastic daiquiri. Thank you.
All right. Fantastic. Guys, here's sugar. Salud. Oh, God.
Hey, so I want to take a moment to thank Amit again. Always a pleasure having you here, buddy.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I feel great. 3 daiquiris down.
Yeah, I think we're all doing pretty good here. Like, you know, it's good funny. It's good funny.
Well, thanks very much for making the time and participating and making daiquiris with us. Thank you, and I hope it won't be too long before we can meet face to face at the bar and have like a nice conversation over a good daiquiri or any kind of drink. I really miss that. I really miss people. So thank you very much. I really appreciate everyone.
Where can we tip you?
Yeah. So a couple of things I want to say is
Uber one.
one thing we like to do is tip our bartenders because it's a nice thing to do. So I wanted to call out Amit's Venmo handle real quick. It's at Amit Gilad, Gilad. It's Amit-Gilad-1 at Venmo.
Yeah, and I think there's a one there. Let me.
Yeah, he'll write it down. Also, Amit, if you want to write the last 4 digits of your phone number, put it on there too, because sometimes Venmo asks for that.
All right.
It's in the calendar invite too, Doug. You dropped it in there if people are looking for it.
It's also the calendar invite. So, you know, it's a nice thing to tip your bartender. Second thing is I'll talk about next week real quick, and then I wanted to say hi to our FME folks.
I don't know if you guys can see this or.
There we go. Yeah, we got you. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so next week we also have another guest, which I'm really kind of excited to feature. How many of you guys have been to Dante in New York?
I have not.
I mean, Dante is it's one of the spotlights, known for their Negronis, their Garibaldi's. We're actually going to be featuring the head bartender at Dante, Stacy Swenson, here next week. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to talk about yet. It's probably going to be about sherry. So stay tuned for that. When you see the calendar invite, I'll be very happy to feature her as well. The last thing I want to do, and I do this every single time, kind of embarrassingly, is I wanted to call out our folks that are in hospitality or in food and beverage, because the last thing we want to do here isn't just like learn from these folks, it's to become like regulars at their bars. So if you are in F&B, would you just chime in a little bit, who you are, where you're working, and where we can see you after quarantine's all over.
Hi, I'm Kyle Braggs. I was trained by that lovely guy that taught us about daiquiris today at Green River. Somehow survived that. I'm currently working at Mastro's Steakhouse, which is in River North, downtown Chicago.
So can I just say that I wholeheartedly endorse Kyle as a human because he brought me a milk crate in Green River when I had a broken leg, so that I could
Oh.
elevate my leg.
Oh shit! Oh oh, I'm just taking care of people that take care of us. That's what matters.
That's what we do.
You're right around the corner from us.
Yep.
Where's that?
Anybody else in F&B? I see you. I know you.
What's that?
Anybody else in hospitality? Say hi. Come on, Seth.
Well, I'm trying to do this app thing here. Just give me a second. For those of you that don't know me, I'm actually in IT too, so you guys can make fun of me. Just trying to turn this thing off here. Hold on. Wait. There we go. Leave. Okay. All right. I'm just in one meeting now. Hi, everybody. I'm Seth Blumenthal. So I used to be a regular at the Green River Annex bar where Amit and Kyle were bartending, and met
There's a bigger regular than I was.
regulars at the Annex, and kind of kept in touch all this time. I was so inspired by the experiences that Amit and Kyle and others provided at Green River and the Annex that I decided to join the industry myself. I have another career in healthcare, but on the side for the last couple of years, I've worked in the service industry, hospitality industry, and have pulled the curtain back and seen what it's like to actually provide the kinds of experiences that Amit has provided. Obviously not with his decades of experience, but just to experience what it's like to delight a guest behind the bar and to experience the rhythms of work behind a bar. It's been a life-changing experience for me, and I currently taking a little break here because of the pandemic, and I have some medical issues, but look forward to getting, as Amit and Kyle and others do, look forward to getting back behind a bar when we all feel safe to go to a bar without a mask, because when you talk, the mask just falls off. So anyway, well, thanks, Doug, for setting this up, and Amit for sharing your wonderful knowledge, and for everybody to take a sunny evening to get a little bit drunk here virtually.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. Again, thanks Amit. It's always good to see you more.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. This feels it feels great. Almost like the real thing, but really it means a lot. And thank you for taking the time. And I hope you enjoyed and you'll embark on that Daquiri journey and figure out what kind of Daquiri works best for you. For me, I think after today's session, it remains open, because that granulated sugar Daiquiri is fantastic, and I'm gonna have to try a couple more and make up my mind. So again, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate your time, and I hope to see you at the bar soon.
Yeah.
Hoping for more normal.
Need the last 4 digits of your phone number.
My last 4 digits of my phone number are
No, you-
4527.
Thank you.
All right.
We have one more industry folk here, my friend Ariel.
Ariel. Oh, is he still here?
Oh wait, let me unmute you, bro.
All right, Ariel. Ariel is my buddy that had moved here from Israel a couple months ago. Amazing guy. Started working in our industry. Very passionate, all about hospitality and cocktails and people. And then I think less than a month in, this whole pandemic occurred, and he struggled for a bit, but he's with us. He's working, and gonna stay with us here in Chicago, which is fantastic. I'm very happy that a lot of it is due to really great support that we get from our patrons. So again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you Thank you.
I think we're talking about another Ariel, but
What, Ariel?
It's cool. That Ariel sounds like an amazing fellow, though.
He just wrote to me like that. It was really nice. I thought he was still here, so I apologize. But
No apology needed. I'm actually Ariel Rios. I've been in the industry for about 7 to probably more like 10 years, actually, that I'm calculating. I've been bartending for 7 years. Started as a server assistant when Spice Market was opened, and I became a bartender at Spice Market, and that closed, and been moving to a few places with different industry, and I'm currently at Nomad Bar. So everyone come in and welcome.
Yo, it's a small world. One, Nomad is one of my favorite bars in New York, and two, Nomad was also owned by Union Square Hospitality, which for until fairly recently, which also owned Green River, which Amit and Kyle own. So it's a small world, dude.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You're in Nomad in New York?
Yes, Nomad in New York.
Oh, cool.
Oh my God, we loved your chicken. So good.
It is so addictive. That is so wild. When I tasted it, yeah, like, oh yeah, it's great chicken.
Hey Ariel, I understand you're a friend of my brother's. If you'd like to host one of these in the future, I'd be happy to have you.
Yes, I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. We'll talk and we'll figure out what topic to cover.
We'll do something cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yo, so how's everyone's Daqs? Like, what's everyone's favorite?
This aged daiquiri is incredible, and I need to make it again, except I've already had like 4 cocktails tonight.
You don't have to drive, I hope.
I don't have to drive, but I don't know how hungover I'm prepared to be tomorrow.
Well, it's a long weekend, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Simple syrup is the best.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's classic, super classic.
I have to say, it's a first for me, but the granulated sugar daiquiri one.
Yeah, I was feeling it. Yeah.
Right.
So before they invented simple syrup, it was complex syrup, right?
Yeah, a lot of that.
Does complex syrup involve imaginary components?
Yeah.
I don't know if they were so imaginary.
Well, Elizabeth, the only imaginary after about 4 drinks. How about the rest? What do you guys think?
I buy me drinks, but I have to say that last one is super good.
Now there's gonna be all these people that are like, I'm like, oh, can I get a daiquiri? And like, you'll get it. And like, no, I want it aged rum.
It just has more flavor. It has more like richness to it.
Yeah. Once that aged rum, it just adds so much to it.
But it's so balanced. Like everything works.
That's great to hear. I think that daiquiris they're fascinating because they are kind of simple. But I think that if we have had four sessions of like 2-3 hours each, we still would not have been able to talk about everything daiquiri. There's so much to say, and there are so many different variations and styles that I really feel, I hope that today's session, again, as I said in the beginning, it's not just a recipe, it's an idea of like taking the ingredients and just like mix it up. Just mix it up and figure out what works for you and how you like your daiquiris. And that template, that simple 3-ingredient or 4-ingredient template is the base for so many drinks. It's unbelievable. If you open a tropical cocktail book, most of the drinks will have that holy trinity of lime, rum, sugar, and then additional flavors. So it's a great place to start and just spread and experiment and explore and make a lot of cocktails and figure out what you like best. And then go to the bar and tell the bartender to make you an aged drum daiquiri with this kind of sugar and this amount of lime. I'm just kidding. But I really hope this gave you kind of like an idea of how to just mix it up and see what works for you. That's I think like the whole point. And ooh, hi everyone. All right, my guys are here. Wait, come. I want you to say hi to my friends. Ooh, this is Lily.
Oh, hey,
Lily!
So old now. Oh my gosh.
Hi to all my friends.
Hey, Lily.
Hi. All right.
I knew you were a little baby.
Yeah,
Guys, for me, it's dinner and bath time and bedtime. So I'm gonna bid you a very fond farewell. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time and making these drinks. And I hope to see you again soon.
Cheers. Thank you, Steve.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
What, is this like sunglasses time? Like, what are we doing here?
I don't know. I saw a bunch of people putting on sunglasses, so I ran to get mine because I had no other opportunity this entire summer.
You're making fun of me because I wear my sunglasses on my porch in the afternoon because it faces west. And so
I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna make one more.
Video, I'll have my sunglasses.
We like daiquiris over here. We do.
Also, are those
Wearing
sunglasses
those
or
in
are
honor
like
of Gray's styles all day. I wore these while I worked today. They were.
I was gonna say I already saw a picture of you today on the gram with those glasses on.
Today. Watermelon sugar.
Yeah.
I think we noticed that the Alf and Days crew over there loves daiquiris.
Is there a drink they haven't loved?
Robert.
Come on now.
I think the Daqui is my favorite one yet. It's just so perfectly balanced in every way.
Yeah, you know, like Amit is a dear friend. I have a lot of his things, but like at the end of the night, I'm always like, "Can you just make me a DAC?" And I'm really glad we got to like tap a little bit into the secret stuff.
Well, actually, last time's
Sorry, go ahead.
last time's flips. I think I saw the most people make a second flip that I've ever seen before. A lot of people made a second flip.
Buddy, I drank 5 flips.
Like
I had so much protein I had to work out afterwards.
Question. I have a question. The Alston Days. Did anyone see last week making the flip? Did anyone see Aaron's shaker explode all over?
No.
Because that happened.
awesome.
You know, I had to happen too, and that is a thing that happens if you don't have ice in your shaker. So if you're doing a dry shake, you have to really hold it, right? Or else, because like the normally like, with a colder, like with ice in there, the metal will contract and it will seal. But if you're doing a dry shake, like
you
Gotta hang on.
So
Hang on.
you got in Shelby's hair on Alfie's entire body. Like, not on me.
Dude, you flipped in my hair.
I feel like the warning on the dry flip might have been useful.
it's a good luck. So that's why y'all cut your hair, right? Because you know got a lot of shit in it. Yeah, so like
Look at my work. Look at my work. It's great.
Something about an earring.
yeah, it looks good. It only covers about 2 square miles now rather than 4.